Hi everyone, and welcome back to Severn Valley Junction. Today I have, decided to run you through a little project that I've been working on, and I'm going to run through some of the processes I went to get these done. So we're building little ground signals and little ratio kits, and I have decided that I was going to light them up. So I'm going to run through and show you how I did it. So please enjoy. Righto, so this is what we've been working on. This is one obviously that I have already made on the board and glued in position. Now, as you can see at the moment, it is just a static, and it always stays as a static, but to make it look a bit more interesting than the standard run-of-the-mill painted ground signal, I have added some lights, and I'm rather pleased with that. But today I'm going to show you some of the tools I used and how I went about doing it. So we'll move over to my bench. So this is what we're doing. That there, I don't know if you can see that very well, is pretty much how it comes out of the box, along with a little round disc there. I'm going to get that to focus on it quite well. Other tools will need a resistor. Now this is a 480 ohm resistor and a little 3-volt LED. Now we'll get to the next step and we'll go from there. Righto, so with the first step complete, you'll see up the top here we have the original kit. Now you will see that, I'm trying to show this on camera here, it is complete and all joined together. Now the first thing we need to do, or what I've done, is cut this little square section here off, so you end up with just, it'll be very hard to see there, the plain stalk. Now once we've done that, you can actually discard the little square bit. We don't need that anymore. The other thing we've done is drilled a very, see if we can get this to show properly, a very tiny hole through the little round section. Now this is probably the hardest part of the whole job. I used a 1.5 millimeter, or 1 mil I think it was, 1 mil drill bit, to drill the hole through that little disc. Now the next step, this is also quite a tricky point. You'll see we have here a standard LED or LED. Now you'll see at the end of the LED is rounded. Now that's no good for us. One, it makes the LED quite large to stick behind the little signal, and also makes it very hard to glue together. So what we've done here is got a knife, and I've just cut the end of the LED off so that it is basically a square edge, and it gives us a nice flat surface to glue this disc to. Now very important when you cut this that you don't cut too close to the diode inside, as if you get it too close it will no longer work. Right, so here we have the wired up LED. Now I'm not very good with time-lapse videos and things like that, so I have pre-done the work and we'll show you the finished product. Now obviously one of the reasons I'm doing the video, I think there's a lot of cool little things you can do to your layout that seem very difficult and probably aren't that difficult. Now my soldering skills and wiring skills are not fantastic, they're not the best, as you can see there by my soldering skills. Quite a lot of solder, but it gets the job done. Now I wouldn't worry about too much how messy that looks at the moment, because firstly around here we are going to wrap a bit of tape around the negative wire, which in this case is the brown, and we won't worry about the resistor side because obviously one side will be insulated, the other side will not. Doesn't need to be. So we have wired or soldered the resistor onto the positive side, which on most LEDs I would think is the positive or the long side, and wired it onto our wire, which is orange for a positive and brown for our negative. Now, that's basically all there is to the wiring side. Obviously the other end will go into the board, in my case I've got a bus wire that runs all the way underneath the layout and is powered up to my controller. Now you'll see the LED cut off. Now this is all going to be painted, so at the end of the day what we have done when we've cut out this little square bit, which is normally what the round plate mounts to, in this case the LED is going to be mounted in its place. So where that would be is where my LED is going to be mounted onto. So when we get this finished, it will look something like that. So the next step from this point, I would paint this. So this section here and the bracket will be painted, and then we're ready to, we'll let that dry, and then we can move on to the next step. Righto, so you can see the next step now is done. You can see we've glued the LED onto the side bracket, and it looks like something like that. Now, it doesn't have to look pretty at this stage, because you are going to have to touch this up later stage once you get it on the board. Now obviously everything underneath that bracket is not painted, because it's going to be either hidden or underneath the board. So at this stage you really don't need to go too fancy with the paintwork, and as you can see my painting skills are less than ideal. Now even though it looks like that LED is completely covered over, there is enough light that comes out, because you remember it's only a 3-volt LED, but even at the brightness of these LEDs you still don't want to have a lot of spill. So you can see I've totally painted the LED, except for there's a little bit you'll see when I turn this on later that pokes through where the front of that LED is, but most of it is blacked out completely, and this way it eliminates all the spill of the LED, so you don't get light showing from the back of the signal when it's in operation on the layout. So we're going to move on to gluing the disc to the front, which has the hole. Now you want to make sure that little hole that we drilled, which is over here, this little hole there, if you can see that, is going to go in front of the LED. Now obviously, now you can do one of two ways. Because I like to rush things and don't like to take my time with things, I glue this onto the LED now, and then I'll paint it once it's on and I get it in the right place. And the reason I do that, because it's very fiddly to glue in place such a small thing, as you can see compared to the size of my finger and my thumb there, I find it easier to get in position first, and then it allows you to paint the red line that's on the signal to be completely level. Because obviously I did the first one and I painted it first, then I went to glue it on, and I found that it was very hard to get that level once I'd already painted it. So I found the next one I glued it on, and then we painted it afterwards. So we'll get this on next, and we'll get on to the next bit. Rightio, and there we have the finished product. As you can see, even when it's on the signal, still very, very hard to paint, and I still haven't got that in the middle. But when it's on the layout and you're not really paying too much attention to it, they look quite effective. Now all that's left to do, now as you can see, I've taped up the positive. Now I only need to tape up one, obviously, because as long as they don't touch, it's not going to short out. And obviously it doesn't matter that you can see it now what colour it is, because when you put it on the layout you're not going to see any of that. Now the only thing left to do is to drill a hole on the baseboard where I want to place it, and I still actually haven't decided where I'm going to put this one yet. So we'll go up and have a look again at the finished product, one that I have already done. But essentially all that's left to do now is to plug in these couple of wires here and glue it on the board. So we'll move on to the layout now, and we'll have a look at one that I have prepared earlier. Well, yeah, so as promised, there's one I prepared earlier, and it'll be a little bit hard to see there with the light, but you can see my camera will focus on it. The LED and the line, that one I actually didn't paint too badly. I have one there, and if we move across the other side, you'll see there's one over there. looking rather lovely as well. And there's another one behind there. So I hope this video was educational. Like I said, there's a lot of jobs, and I love looking on YouTube and looking at all the videos that people do and just going, wow, you know, there's a lot of cool stuff that people do, and you just wish that you knew how to do it, or there was someone to tell you how they did it. And like I said, whilst my modelling skills are not fantastic and they're not the best, little simple jobs like these can make a hell of a difference to the layout. And you know, I think it's always good to show other people how to do stuff, so you too can enjoy little things like this on your own layouts. So let me know what you think. Always like to hear feedback on things that are going on, and if you have any questions or anything like that, please drop me a line and I'll be happy to reply. Cheers.